What's going on, guys? Justin here, and today we are going to look at the biggest losers from NFL free agency in terms of fantasy football. So let's jump right in, starting it off with Michael Penix. Penix tore his ACL in November of last season, so will likely miss the start of the 2026 season. The Falcons brought in Tua on a one-year deal for the league minimum, and he is most likely going to be the Week 1 starter. Jokes aside about Tua, he isn't awful and he could be better than Michael Penix. Penix wasn't anything special anyway, so there is real danger of Tua stealing his job. Now, I'm not sure how likely this is, but if that does happen, Michael Penix would be a big loser coming out of this NFL free agency cycle. With Travis Etienne's massive contract in New Orleans, Alvin Kamara's fantasy value is now close to zero. I can't imagine you want to roster him in either redraft or dynasty, but the reason he is not further up this list is because we knew this was coming sooner or later. He only averaged 3.6 yards per carry in 2025, and he will be 31 by the start of next season. There's a chance he even retires, as it sounds like he doesn't want to play for anyone other than the Saints. I'd argue RJ Harvey is a small loser too, due to the Denver Broncos re-signing J.K. Dobbins. If Dobbins left in free agency, there was a chance that Harvey could take over as the RB1 role in Denver. But now that Dobbins is back, Harvey is likely stuck as the pass-catching running back. I think it will be difficult for him to see a lot of early down carries. I'm sure dynasty owners were likely hoping for a larger workload for the 2025 rookie, but I'm not sure that's going to happen anymore. On the positive side, Dobbins is injury prone and we could see a similar outcome to what just happened last season. In a somewhat similar situation, Ricky Pearsall is coming out of this free agency cycle as a loser too. The 49ers brought in Mike Evans on a multi-year deal, though they do have an out after year one, but it is looking like he is going to be their new number one wide receiver. It was possible that Ricky would go into the 2026 season as the number one with Jawan Jennings and Kendrick Bourne leaving, but the acquisition of Mike Evans puts that to a stop. The 49ers offense is good, but once again there are a lot of mouths to feed and Ricky is not the priority. Though, like Harvey and Dobbins, if Mike Evans gets injured, as he has a shaky injury history, then we could see the number one Ricky Pearsall that we speculated could happen. Ben Sinnott, a Commanders 2024 draft pick, is another loser that might be going under the radar. He hasn't done much in his 2-year NFL career, but he was stuck behind Zach Ertz. Ertz tore his ACL late last season, and it looked like Sinnott could be the Commanders' tight end 1 heading into 2026. But instead, they went out and signed Chig Okonkwo to a 3-year deal, forcing Ben Sinnott to be a backup once again. Staying at tight end, I think Oronde Gadsden is a loser from this free agency cycle too. The Chargers signed exceptional blocking tight end Charlie Kolar to a multi-year deal. Kolar had the 6th highest run blocking grade among tight ends according to PFF, so I think he will play quite a bit on early downs. This likely forces Gadsden off the field. I think he could still play on third downs and other passing downs, but he's probably going to play less than last year, which is a loss for him. Isaiah Pacheco left Kansas City to join the Lions as their new backup running back. We've known Pacheco was trending down in terms of fantasy for a couple years now, with the Chiefs preferring Kareem Hunt over him, but this is the nail in the coffin. We have seen David Montgomery do well splitting time with Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think the Lions are ready to make Gibbs their workhorse. I do not expect much out of Pacheco this upcoming season. For a guy that looked to be the Chiefs' long-term answer at running back, his dynasty value is in the dump. Moving over to another wide receiver, I'd argue that DK Metcalf is now in a worse position than he was last year thanks to the Steelers trading for wide receiver Michael Pittman. Pittman is better than DK at those short to intermediate routes, which are great for fantasy production. DK had his lowest average depth of target in at least the last 4 years this past season, but I can see that going back up with Pittman now in town. The question mark at quarterback for the Steelers isn't helping DK's case either. The Cardinals' backfield is a messy one, with the team restructuring James Conner's contract to keep him in town while also signing outside free agent Tyler Algier to a 2-year deal. Remember, Trey Benson is still there too, who had the chance to be the RB1 in 2026, but that's unlikely to happen now. Conner and Benson are big-time losers here in my opinion. I suppose returning for another season is better than retiring for the soon-to-be 31-year-old in James Conner, but I know for a fact Trey Benson owners are disappointed. Another running back that could have been the lead back for his team next year is Woody Marks. Although inefficient, he took advantage of Joe Mixon's injury and the aging Nick Chubb to see quite a bit of playing time throughout the 2025 season. Woody only averaged 3.6 yards per carry, so the Texans were a popular running back landing spot. They ended up trading for David Montgomery and then signed him to a 2-year restructured contract. Houston does have an out after the season, but for the time being, Woody Marks looks to be stuck as a backup. Jaden Blue was drafted in the 5th round by the Dallas Cowboys with the potential to be their starting running back in 2025. The Cowboys also signed Javonte Williams to a 1-year deal worth $3 million that offseason. And going into the year, there was a lot of uncertainty in this backfield, but Javonte quickly won the starting job and never looked back. This offseason, the Cowboys signed Javonte to a 3-year deal, cementing his role on the team. This means Jaden Blue is stuck as a backup for the foreseeable future. We've talked about 2 tight ends already, but the biggest loser of the position is Dalton Kincaid. The Bills could have cut Dawson Knox for over $10 million in cap savings, but instead brought him back on a new 3-year deal. They are able to cut him after the 2027 season, but he is most likely in Buffalo for the next 2 years. And this is a massive hit to Kincaid because his biggest issue was playing time. He only played 2 games in which he was on the field for more than 51% of the Bills' offensive snaps, and he did not have a game playing more than 55% of snaps. He only ran routes 51% of the time too. Kincaid was good when he was on the field, so he just needs to play more, but I am not confident that's going to happen with Knox back. And in my opinion, the number 1 biggest loser of free agency is Caleb Johnson. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2025 draft by the Steelers. But prior to last season, the Steelers signed Jalen Warren to an extension and brought in Kenneth Gainwell. With Gainwell now out, the Steelers signed another free agent running back in Rico Dowdle to a 2-year deal. And while I'm here, I think Rico and Warren are small losers too, as they'll now have to split playing time. I would have liked to have seen Rico go somewhere where he could be the true number 1 running back. Anyway, Caleb Johnson couldn't get on the field last year, and I do not see that changing at all this year. I am not sure he will ever get playing time as a Pittsburgh Steeler.